Hello everyone and welcome to Law and Court Cases and another episode of my true crime series. In today's video we are going to be talking about the killer couple Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka, otherwise known as the Ken and Barbie Killers. I want to give a warning for this video. This video will talk about violence against women, rape, sexual assault, kidnapping and murder. Coined the Ken and Barbie Killers by the media due to the couple's good looks, this devious and calculated couple are responsible for the murders of 3 girls, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Karla Homolka was 17 years old when the couple met. The high school student from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, worked part-time as a pet store while she was still studying. She worked hard and the store obviously thought she was good enough because they asked her to attend a convention on their behalf in Scarborough, Ontario. This would be the beginning of the end for Karla, as it was here she would meet 23-year-old Paul Bernardo. After a long day at the convention, her and a colleague went down to the hotel bar to grab food. It was here that the blonde's eyes connected with a young man as he entered the building. This was Paul Bernardo, an accounting student at the University of Ontario. It is said that when their eyes connected, it was love at first sight. The pair felt an instant pull to one another and even said it was a match made in heaven, when clearly it was a match made in hell. After talking all night, the couple then proceeded to head back to Karla's room where they engaged in sexual activities. The legal age of consent in Canada is 16, so although legal, it's still far too uncomfortable for me. Bernardo presented himself as being a happy and well-adjusted, charming young man. He came across as motivated and wanting to be successful. He was visually attractive and thought these are things that attracted Karla to Bernardo. But what she did not know was that beneath the facade lay a much darker man with dark fantasies. In addition to being one half of the killer couple, Bernardo was also the Scarborough Rapist, convicted at the time of his trial for the murders, also of the rape of at least 14 women and the attempted rape of another 6. Coming from a very different family upbringing, Bernardo was the youngest of 3 children and came from a very abusive household. His father was sexually abusive towards his older sister and would do this in front of the family. His mother was abusive and suffered with depression and would frequently neglect Paul and his other siblings. At the age of 16, Paul discovered that the man he thought was his father was in fact not his father after his mother had an affair. From how this man acted and treated his sister, I would have thought this would cause some relief considering this man seems like a monster. But instead, this devastated Paul, and it created a deep-seated hatred that Paul would have against his mother and against women for the rest of his life. He began calling his mother names like slut and whore. However, since she was no world-class mother, she reciprocated this by calling him the bastard from hell. He developed dark fantasies about girls and young women from a very young age. During his teen years, he developed a habit of being a peeping Tom, looking through the windows of young girls and women around the area to watch them undress. Another fantasy of his, which involved creating a virgin farm where he would breed virgin girls to rape. Throughout late 1987 and early 1988, over a 13-month period, 11 different women across Scarborough were attacked by a man who'd become known as the Scarborough Rapist. He would grab them at night and sexually assault them from behind so they couldn't see his face. This was a very dangerous subtype of rapist. He was very anger-based, perhaps even sadistic in nature. Greg McCary, former FBI profiler who worked on the case, revealed. Not only were these women being brutalised, but they felt we were on the verge of it moving to the line of homicide. Eventually, one of the women was able to get a look at her attacker's face, and she helped the police create a composite sketch. This was released to the public. Now this sketch was incredibly accurate. So accurate, in fact, his own friends commented on this, concerned that they went to the police. With Paul's name now on the police's list of suspects, they brought Bernardo in for questioning. Whilst there, they asked for a sample of Bernardo's DNA. Perhaps not wanting to come across as more suspicious, he complied. You would think that this would be it. They had him, but instead, this DNA took over 2 years to be tested and mysteriously disappeared after being sent off. Karla was the oldest of 3 sisters and was deemed very popular in school and had many boyfriends, but none had compared to Paul. In the beginning of the relationship, Paul had come across as the perfect boyfriend. Adored by Karla, her sisters and even her parents, it was safe to say Paul was in deep with the family. Despite the age gap between them, his charming personality, a common personality trait of psychopaths, he had them eating out of the palm of his hand. Karla loved telling her friends about her relationship with Paul, how she was in this fantastic, amazing relationship with this older man and how it made her feel so mature and special. But in reality, she was in a relationship with a predator, a ticking time bomb that was set to go off. He was verbally abusive, and Karla would try to distance herself, but Paul would bring gifts and sweet words and win her over once again. Perhaps now finally feeling the heat after the police pulled him in, Bernardo made the decision to move to St. Catherine's and moved in with Karla and her family. Like I said, Karla's family adored Paul, so they had no problem with this. They simply passed it off as they were trying to save up money for their own place. As soon as Bernardo moved to St. Catherine's, Scarborough became a safer place and St. Catherine's became his new hunting ground. Karla was on cloud 9. She felt like she was living a fairy tale, and in 1989 that fairy tale seemed to get even better, because on a trip to Niagara Falls, Paul decided to propose, and no surprise, she said yes. Almost as soon as Karla got the fairy tale proposal she wanted, things began to change into a nightmare. On December 23rd, 1990, Paul's dark sadistic side was fully revealed. 15-year-old Tammy Homolka, Karla's younger sister, was the target of Bernardo's gross fascinations. Paul had been having dark urges towards Tammy for a while. He would watch her undress when she wasn't aware of his presence, and sadly he decided to act on these dark urges. Paul told Karla that he wanted a gift that she could not give him. Wanting to please her fiancé and give him everything that she could, she wanted to give whatever it was he wanted to him. But what he wanted was a virgin. He told Karla that she wanted him to be happy, he would give Tammy's virginity to him. After belittling Karla and breaking her down, Karla disturbingly agreed and decided that this would be Karla's Christmas present to Paul. I can't even begin to tell you how sick that sentence makes me feel. That night, Karla convinced her 15-year-old sister that they would stay up late and enjoy a few drinks together. Tammy, probably not thinking anything of this other than seeing it as a bonding opportunity between her sister and future brother-in-law, she agreed. Unbeknownst to Tammy, Karla would crush up sleeping pills and put them in her drink. Karla at this time was working in a veterinary clinic, and the pills she used to crush up were animal tranquilizers that she'd stolen from there. Karla also soaked a rag in halophane, a local anaesthetic that she would use to cover Tammy's nose and mouth. Paul raped the teenager while Karla held her down. He then ordered Karla to rape her too, while he videotaped the entire thing and began his sick collection of sick videos that he would use to relive the experiences. Afterwards, Tammy began to vomit, and she tragically choked on her own throw-up, resulting in her suffocating to death. Now panicked, Paul and Karla quickly redressed Tammy before they called 911, claiming she had passed out from drinking. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough because she was pronounced dead at the hospital. After looking into her death, officials concluded that she had died of natural causes, despite being suspicious of the burn marks left by the halophane that were around the lower half of her face. Karla and Paul explained that away as carpet burn, explaining they dragged her across the carpet before flipping her over to attempt to revive her. I struggle with seeing how this passed as natural causes, considering this was a 15-year-old girl, but it somehow was ruled that way. This ruling probably only gave Paul more confidence to continue with doing what he was doing, and unfortunately this disturbing behaviour continued alongside them planning their dream wedding. The couple at this time had saved up enough money to move out of Karla's family home, and the two moved into their first home together. This cute, unsuspecting 2-storey home in Port Dalhousie would become the backdrop of the crimes the couple would go on to commit. Also, now they have their own place, Paul's abuse towards Karla grew worse. It went from being verbally abusive to now being physically abusive as well. When Karla would threaten Paul with thoughts of leaving him, he would use the murder of Tammy against Karla, saying he would go to the police and tell them about her involvement with her death. Because if he was going down, she was going down with him. Obviously not wanting to suffer the consequences of those actions, she stayed and the couple continued planning their wedding. On June 15th, 1991, just 2 weeks before their wedding, Paul woke Karla up in the middle of the night with a present, expecting some kind of romantic gesture. Instead, she found a 14-year-old girl, Leslie Mahaffey, a young girl who had been kidnapped from her backyard in her home in Burlington, Canada. Paul expressed to Karla that he had planned to keep her as a sex slave. He, with Karla's knowledge, held her captive for hours, repeatedly assaulting her and recording the attacks on videos for his sick collection. Sadly, Paul grew tired of the innocent girl quickly, because less than 24 hours after kidnapping her, the couple strangled her to death before dismembering her body. They mixed different body parts in with concrete before throwing the body into Lake Gibson. 2 weeks later, on the day of Paul and Karla's wedding, Leslie's body was found, chopped up into small pieces by fishermen on the lake. This was all over the news and no doubt seen by Karla and Paul. Despite the FBI getting involved, they did not have any solid leads that would connect them to the Scarborough Rapist cases with the murder of Leslie Mahaffey. Despite this, they continued to get away with it, further stroking Paul's psychopathic, egotistical behaviour. According to the people who knew them, the couple had an intense obsession with each other. It was a very destructive relationship. They fed into one another and encouraged and supported another in doing things that were unspeakable. Dr. Fred Berlin, a sexual disorder specialist at Johns Hopkins University, reported, "They were attractive, intelligent, and in love. The idea that these were the bad guys, that they were capable of doing things so vile, is something that's hard for us to comprehend." On April 16, 1991, the newlywed abducted 15-year-old Kristen French while she was walking home from school. According to eyewitnesses, Karla asked the team to come over to the car because she needed help with directions. Kristen, probably thinking that it was safe because there was a woman in the car, got closer to assist them when suddenly Paul grabbed her and forced her into the vehicle. It wasn't long before Kristen was reported missing, and eyewitnesses said they saw her being forced into a beige Camaro. Unfortunately, this information was incorrect, as the couple actually owned a gold Nissan. So while the police put heavy foot traffic into looking for this Camaro, the couple were able to slip by a little longer. The media at this time had also begun connecting the disappearances of both Leslie Mahaffey with the abduction of Kristen French. The couple kept Kristen in their home for days, raping, sodomizing, and beating her, while recording the assaults, before they eventually killed her. Her body was discovered in a ditch on the side of the road days later. The couple kept Kristen in their home for days, raping, sodomizing, and beating her while recording the assaults before they eventually killed her. Her body was discovered in a ditch on the side of the road days later. The happiness that the couple seemed to have was quickly dismembered, because in January of 1993, Karla decided to leave Paul after he allegedly beat her with a flashlight, leaving her with 2 black eyes and broken rib. Around the same time, Paul's DNA sample, which had been collected 2 years earlier whilst police were investigating the Scarborough Rapist, was finally being processed. The police soon started to link all the crimes together, and they brought Karla in for questioning, in the hope she'd turn on her ex-lover. Greg said if we can drive a wedge between them, they would likely be falling out, and we would very much like to facilitate that. She eventually told the police that what had happened, however, she claimed that Paul had made her participate in the gruesome killings against her will and agreed to testify against him in exchange for a reduced sentence for herself. When it came to trial, Karla was convicted of 2 counts of manslaughter and received a 12-year sentence. She filed for divorce from Paul soon after. However, it wasn't until she had had her sentencing that the police found the videotapes that the couple took while committing the crimes, which showed her not only helping Paul in his acts, but also participating in some of them herself. But at that point, it was too late. This caused uproar in the community, people saying that Karla was given too light of a sentence, a sentiment which I wholeheartedly agree with. Karla's plea deal was branded by the media as the deal with the devil. Paul was arrested on February 17, 1993, and charged with 9 different counts, including kidnapping, unlawful confinement, unlawful aggravated assault, and murder. His trial began 2 years later, and Karla was the prosecutor's key witness. She took to the stand, where she branded him as the mastermind behind the whole thing. On September 1st, 1995, then 31-year-old Paul was found guilty of all 9 charges and was sentenced to life in prison. Disgustingly, after serving 12 years behind bars, Karla was released on July 5th, 2005. She moved to Montreal, where she got remarried and has welcomed 3 children. She now lives a normal life out of the spotlight, a thought that really upsets me because her and her ex-husband took away 3 innocent lives of young girls who would never get to experience life, and their families would be left with a giant hole that nothing would ever be able to fill. So this was the case of the Ken and Barbie Killers. It's bittersweet because I'm happy Paul's behind bars where he should be, but I also think Karla should be there too. Again, my deepest condolences go out to the victims and the victims' families. I really hope wherever they are doing okay. So if you managed to stay this long, I want to say thank you. If you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.